Welcome to Fix and Fly, the business podcast, which identifies common business issues for you to watch out for in your day-to-day business life. So tune in every fortnight where we speak to leaders of corporates to SMEs where you can implement their strategies into your business. I'm your host, Larissa Logan from Fixity, where we help turn businesses around. Hi Holly, thank you so much for joining us on the Fix and Fly podcast.
Thank you for having me, Larissa. Great to be here.
Now, do you mind telling our guests a little bit about your journey to becoming a luxury real estate agent?
Yeah, sure. Well, I started 16 years ago. My grandmother got me into the industry, and I've moved through a variety of roles. So starting out as a PA through to a receptionist, I've worked in IT, and then obviously obtained my license. And I started selling with my grandmother for quite a few years. And she had a massive reputation in Auckland and in Parnell specifically. So, of course, there's some beautiful homes there. So that's how I got into it. And more recently, I've joined my partner's team, Ross Tierney, under Team Tierney, and he's been selling luxury real estate for 10 years. So just been a natural progression, really, into that space.
What is the state of the luxury real estate market at the moment, given current economic conditions?
The luxury market is really slow at the moment. And look, there's still people definitely buying them, and those unique homes are definitely selling. But I'd say in Auckland specifically, it's really slowed. I think, the lower price point is really where it's selling. So anything sub 2 million, if you look at our offices' sales in the last kind of month, we do an average about 20 sales a week, and majority of them, I'd say 80% are in that bracket.
And then do you see this market turning around in the near future?
Yes, I mean, what comes down must go back up, so I think it will. I think a lot of agents are holding out for spring. That's typically 1st of September, sun's out, people put their homes on the market, right? But will that happen? I don't know. I feel like definitely I've felt the pinch personally this year, and I know a lot of other people have. I know we saw it over a year and a half ago or since COVID, but I feel like now people have, they've either held on, and now's the time where they're having to make those tough decisions, and I've seen it around in my industry, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been doing a little bit of research ahead of this podcast, and I've seen that whilst mortgagee sales are well down from the GFC highs of around 750 a quarter, they are increasing in the last few quarters, and they're now up to around 70 or 80 in the last quarter. Yeah. So are you seeing any of this flow into the luxury housing market, or is that in a different price point?
I think it's in a different price point. So we have a mortgagee specialist in our office. So she predominantly does a lot of mortgagees, and that'd be a great space to be in for the last couple of years, I would imagine. But I think a lot of them are typically in the outer Auckland suburbs. So I don't think it so much affects the luxury homes, not from what I've seen.
And then what are other real estate agents in your area doing at the moment? If the work's dried up and your clientele have headed off to Europe to enjoy the summer, what do you do in pivot to earn money?
Well, I think that's a big question. A lot of agents are becoming inactive or are thinking about different career paths. I mean, I've been doing it 16 years. You start to think, maybe I go and try my hand at something else. But I guess to pivot, they're having to sell out of area. So it might be that they were used to selling in a high-end area and they're having to go prospecting in some lower price brackets to bring in that bread and butter and keep their business going.
I'm seeing that with a lot of my customers as well. I can give you an example in the construction sector.
Yes.
A lot of these businesses were operating at a certain price point.
Yeah.
And now that market's dried up, what you've seen is some of the larger players are actually dipping into their market and taking their share of the work.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what you're referring to as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think, having a very successful, powerful brand marketing, if you are working in that space, that definitely helps with keeping you afloat,
And talking about a powerful brand, I heard that there's been some great wins recently.
Our office has just been, the Connect conference in the Gold Coast has just finished. A lot of people flew home yesterday. I unfortunately couldn't go, busy at work. And I went about 3 weeks ago and visited a girlfriend there. But That's a fantastic conference. There's 3,000 people that go, and you have a lot of motivational speakers, so it's a really good rev up for people, and it's all across Australia and New Zealand. And we took home the Ray White Remuera took home the #1 international award. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so they are a powerful office. Yeah.
And then what are some of the other challenges that you're seeing in the market at the moment? Just not just the luxury market, but the whole property market.
I had to think about this. I mean, we've got sort of falling mortgage rates, which is great, but we've still got rising unemployment. And I think the biggest challenge is supply and demand. So at the moment, there is a lack of great quality homes. And as I've said, because everything that's selling is in that lower bracket, people who are wanting that 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom with a pool, they just aren't on the market. And maybe they will come on in spring, but I think that's a massive challenge for people who are working your typical Kiwi buyer.
And is that because the buyers and the sellers' expectations just don't quite meet? Are the sellers still 2 years ago thinking the prices are up here and they're not prepared to accept anything lower?
They definitely are. I know from the business I'm involved in with my partner, we've had probably 30 offers this year gone nowhere. And that's because the gap is just way too big. So we're definitely getting them. People are wanting to buy. And I think that's probably put a stop to a lot of people going on the market. They're hopeful that prices are just going to jump, which I don't think they're going to drastically. So I think once they come to that realisation, we'll see another flow of property come on. But at the moment, it's just very steady.
Yeah, I know a couple of people personally who have been holding on to try to get their expectations of price met.
Yeah.
But they've got to a point now where there's certain other factors that have happened in their life and they now have no choice and it has to go on the market. So the market is now going to dictate what that price is and it is going to be well below their expectations.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It is about meeting the market. I mean, you've still, I think getting a registered valuation is really important at the moment. It's, agents can give appraisals, but a lot of them hike them up to actually get the listing. So if you're really realistic, people just go away, you don't get the listing. So there's a fine line between getting that business and losing it. So, we've always been very realistic. And honestly, if they're not going to meet the market or they don't have a genuine reason for sale, you can waste a lot of time.
A lot of the work that I'm doing with my clients is around IRD payment plans.
Right.
And part of that magic ingredient that I talk to my clients about is actually providing the IRD with a lump sum payment. And so some of the discussions that I'm having with my clients is around selling maybe a second property and or selling the residential property.
Yeah.
And that's a real good way for them to free up cash. But obviously, as we've just discussed, the expectations of price are maybe not quite there.
Yeah.
I think for business owners where they are having cash flow pressures, also, if it's not selling the property, it's also, maybe taking on some additional debt.
Yes.
What are you seeing with the banks at the moment? Are you seeing the banks being lenient around business owners or residential property owners taking on more debt?
I don't think they have been very lenient. I know from my personal experience, and obviously my partner, we have a few properties, but it's been really tough even to refinance, get out of it. So from my experience, no, I don't think they are. But I guess it depends on your debt levels. There's a lot of factors that come into play there.
What are some tips that you could give to maybe first home buyers around what they could do to structure their proposal to the bank when going to look for funding for their first home?
Yeah, I guess just keeping your expenses down, saving, and maybe even bringing in, family that's, mum and dad maybe helping to get you into your first property. That's what a lot of first home buyers are doing.
Yeah, actually, I've got a few friends and they are looking at buying their first home together to try to consolidate their funds.
Yeah.
Which is a great way, I think, to get on the ladder.
Yeah.
Now, something that is really interesting that you've been doing is the flipping of the houses. Can you talk to us about how you choose what region, what house to be able to purchase these properties and to be able to turn a profit?
Yeah. So Ross and I had a property in Dargaville, and we, so it's looking at the purchase price versus the spend. So you've got it, and you can't overcapitalise on that. So it's keeping how much is it going to cost to bring it up to par, and then what will it rent out at. So if it was 4% at the start, can you get it to a 10% return? So I think anything that's over 9%, which is very difficult to do in Auckland, so you have to look outside. So it's just doing your numbers really.
So, and what does that look like? Is that like a budget ahead of the project?
Yeah, so it's what you can buy it at, and you can't go past a certain level. And then obviously, how much am I going to put into it? And that's got to be capped. And then, how much am I going to rent it for at that end value? So it's talking to the agents in the area, working with them. And then obviously when you go to sell it, am I going to make some profit on that as well?
It's really great how the flow from property development and doing flipping a house and also running a business, and the advice that I'm giving to my clients is overlaps, because I'm always giving my clients advice 13-week cash flow forecast, like just know your expenses, know your income.
Yes.
To make sure that you're actually making profit, you're making money.
Yeah.
And I think probably when people get into trouble with flipping a home is when they haven't run the numbers properly.
No. Yeah. So the guys that do it, there's a couple that I can think of. What's his name? Michael, that's with B. Anyway, he has a whole forum, and he sort of is now helping people to actually do the flipping. So there's a lot of young people now that are doing it, and they solely just rely on numbers. And if it doesn't work, they don't buy it or they don't do it. So it's becoming a real thing, and I think that is a way for young people to. It might not be I have to go into this nice modern, double glazed home that looks nice. It's buying something that maybe I can do up and make a bit of money on, even if you start small and then work from there.
And this is probably the time to buy, right? Because this is when you're going to get a bargain in the property market and have the best ability to negotiate the price down.
Yeah, correct. Interest rates are steady. Prices are, it is still a buyer's market at the moment. So it's a great time for people to be looking at doing that.
Do you have any predictions about where the property market and interest rates are going to go in the next 6 months?
It's like a crystal ball. I think the property market, it's going to stay where it is for the most part of this year. Whether we'll definitely see an uptake in supply in spring. We always do. Winter's always quieter in New Zealand. But to be fair, our business has actually been busier this winter than we were last year. So if you look at the numbers, it's quite interesting. Like if you look at the COVID times to now, it definitely has increased. But, is it enough for the market to take off again? Don't know. But I think probably by February next year we'll start seeing a bit of a lift in prices. That's my personal opinion. I don't know how much but yeah.
And do you think there's been a recalibration in the market with the level of real estate agents just as the market's taken a dip?
Yeah, so I had a look at some numbers on this actually. So in Auckland now we've only got, I think, around 5,000 agents. We had 7,000, so that's 2,000 down. And, nationally in the last 2 years, we've lost 4,000 that have exited the industry. That's a lot. So it's actually increasing every year.
It's so interesting because I remember after COVID, you couldn't find enough real estate agents to sell the homes, right?
Yeah.
And then so where did all of these people come from?
Yeah, I don't know, but I remember in COVID I was doing deals without seeing properties. I did 8 deals from my bedroom, and I was like, man, take me back to there. That was great. Like just literally matching people, and because everybody knew you couldn't go anywhere and you could do everything via video, it's like that is possible in a real estate business. I mean, I still am of the ethos that you need to go and see a property. And I was always skeptical if people turned up to auctions and were like, I'm going to bid, and they've never seen it. I'm like, but how do you know what you're buying, So I was always wary of that. But yeah, I guess they go and drive around outside. You've got all the documents. Unless there's anything major, like something unconsented, then, they're happy to proceed on that basis. But yeah, but prices were good when we first went into that lockdown. Business was still going really well.
It's so interesting that when a market is going up, people all come into it and they say, I'm a real estate agent. But they also say the same about, being an insolvency expert.
Yes.
And it's so interesting. I'm like, I've never heard of this person in my life before. Who are they?
Yeah.
So what's the best piece of business advice you have ever been given?
The best piece of business advice is it takes 20 years to build your reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. So I think if everybody thought about that, they'd really think more about what they were doing. So the biggest thing is protect your brand and your reputation.
That's really great advice.
Yeah.
What is some advice that you would give your 20-year-old self?
It would be to save more. It's a massive one. And don't be scared to walk away from that job, that client, that vendor. Don't be scared. I mean, you take on a lot of stuff, but sometimes it just wastes your time, and your time is really, really precious. So I think it's, being confident in yourself, and don't be afraid to walk away from something if you have to, and do it fast.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Holly, on the Fix and Fly podcast. It's been really great to delve into the work that you do in the luxury property industry. And thank you.
Thanks so much, Larissa.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you enjoy the Fix and Fly podcast, make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and share with anyone you think will find this useful. We look forward to seeing you next time.